All right, welcome everyone. Today is Wednesday, July the 26th, 2023, and this is the API server network proxy meeting. This meeting is being held as a subproject of Kubernetes SIGs, and as such, we follow their meeting guidelines, which essentially means treat everyone kindly and please raise your hand if you'd like to speak. There's only 3 of us here today, so I guess those rules are probably a little abbreviated. But yeah, we've got one agenda item about the last few PRs being blocked. Joseph, you added that. Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I think starting yesterday, I sort of looked at the last few PRs. And I marked a few okay to test, and like 2 or 3 I noticed are all failing with the same like lint error. It seems unrelated to the changes. And one of them even helpfully somebody commented what might be wrong with the test infra. So we just need a maintainer, and I'm happy to volunteer to be the person, kind of follow up. Imran, I
So,
think one of your PRs might be blocked by the same thing, right?
yes, and I did create a PR half an hour ago regarding the update to the Golang CI lint version. I linked an issue that other users have been facing with the same Golang CI lint. It is because of high memory usage. So I tested on my system, and it ran up to about 40 gigs of memory and then got terminated. So I'm seeing the same issue in the job on the CI pipeline as well. So I've updated the version. Please, look at it and approve if that fixes everything.
Oh, great. Thanks. I'll take a look.
Sure. Also, one more thing. Whenever I open a PR, I'm asked to wait for the test jobs to run. Is it possible if I'm added to the reviewers or the maintainers list?
That sounds right. Like, Michael, I'm sure you know better than me. I think if you're, actually, I never remember the exact details. I don't want to be inaccurate, but I think if you're marked as a reviewer, maybe you get the okay for test for free.
I think so. And Imran, please open up a PR, and if you'd like to add yourself to the reviewers there, I think that'd be definitely worthwhile.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll do that. Okay. While I'm speaking, I have updated my PR for the smart readiness check. I think Walter had a comment on not disturbing the existing way that agent acted in terms of its readiness flow, because readiness flow makes kubelet want to whether restart the pod or not. So I have added this readiness check, the smart readiness check, behind a flag. So if the flag is disabled, only the ping health check would be enabled, and that is exactly pretty much similarly to what we had before. And if the flag is enabled, then we have the smart readiness check. Yes, Joseph.
I just noticed you had begun speaking about the agent readiness check and Walter's feedback, and then Walter joined. So you might want to start over from the beginning, just to let him hear the whole thing.
Right. Hi, Walter. Okay, so I saw your comment on the readiness PR, smart readiness PR, and you mentioned that the readiness flow, the facility of that kubelet wants to restart the pod or not based on the readiness flow. So we might want to keep the logic same in terms of what we did before. So I've updated the PR to have that smart readiness check behind a CLI flag. So if that is enabled, only then we would test the readiness based on whether the agent is able to connect to the server or not. Otherwise, it is similarly just a ping check. Yes, Walter.
I agree with most of what you're saying. I just want to make a subtle but very important comment for anyone who's not just on the naming, and it's a naming thing. We have readiness and we have health/liveness, and so readiness, whatever, happy. It's the liveness/health, which is a separate check, and that's the one that Kubelet uses to restart pods. So my concern is, and I just want to be very careful about the naming, because it's a common Kubernetes. So even if you understand it perfectly, I want to make sure for everyone else. Readiness, do what you want with. We have some ideas. Generally, most people acknowledge it's for load balancers, but it doesn't actually affect core Kubernetes functionality. Healthiness or liveness does, and you have to be very careful with that check. And that was what my feedback was on. So I just want to make sure we're careful with healthiness, liveness.
Okay, got it. So yeah, I have updated the PR. It's a separate commit. So please let me know your feedback.
Okay, cool. Do we want to go back? Do we want to go back to the last few PRs being blocked? Or I think that Golang CI lint issue was kind of like a known issue that was going around for a little bit with the 1.20 Go update. So it sounds like we have a fix in place for that should unblock the PRs that are there. Did we have anything else to cover on that topic?
Probably not. It sounded like Imran has a PR out there. I'll take a look at approving it to unblock the other PRs.
Awesome,
right
thank
after.
you. Okay, so we have some next topics that were kind of held over from before. Do we want to go into any of these about like the GA requirements draft, or is there any update, I guess, on that, or any update on the connection management extensible pull? Should we cover these?
I was on vacation for the first half of July. I'm okay to skip the GA requirements draft.
Okay, cool. I don't know if there's any update to cover here on the connection management extensible PR. It looks like this is still work in progress. So I don't know, Walter, did you have an update or anything here?
I don't. I meant to get to it, and then there was an unfortunate set of stuff showed up in the last couple of weeks, and I've had to be dealing with personal issues rather than this sort of thing. But I'm hoping to get to this Friday. I mean, I will say the current state of things is conceptually, the fix is in. It's worth looking at. There are some edge cases around reconnections when we lose an agent and or lose a connectivity server, and making sure that we reestablish connections that need to be ironed out on so actually, let me step back and describe what I've done, and then we can. So when we talk about the connection management, what we have today is during the handshake, the agent reaches out to the connectivity server and basically asks the connectivity server, how many things should I connect to? And it's conceptually, it is of the belief that it's going to go through a load balancer. And so it cannot definitively, as an agent, determine what the correct things to connect to are, because the load balancer is going to throw that all out. And all it can do in that scenario is connect to one. Once it's connected to one, it gets back in the number of connectivity servers that it should connect to, and the ID, or I think either I may be wrong. I don't remember whose ID matters, but essentially we'll get the IDs will be transferred between the agent and the server, and then it will, once it knows that it needs more than one, it will then try and make another connection. If it goes to a new connectivity server, a new connection is established, all good. If it gets to a connectivity server it's already connected to, then one end or the other, and off the top of my head, I don't remember which, realizes that this is a duplicate connection, will break it and cause the agent to keep retrying. And then depending on the mode you're in, once you reach capacity, so let's say you're supposed to have 3, you get to 3, you can configure it to keep trying once a minute, whatever period, so that if, like, let's say you're doing an HA upgrade and you're adding extras connectivity servers, it can actually start rolling onto, and so it can do that. That's how connection management works today. And it's pretty hardwired into everything. So the change is to kind of pull all of that into one package, which is a connection management package, and then let you optionally pick a different implementation of connection management. The alternate that I have that I'm implementing is for a use case where you don't have a load balancer, and in fact, you know concretely which connectivity servers you want the agent to connect to, and you can just pass them on the command line. And so the idea is you can just say, tell the connectivity agent, these are my connectivity servers, please just connect to all of them, and there's no need for any of the rest of this. So that 493 is basically designed to implement those two things. The idea not just being that we get that new functionality that I'm adding, but that other people who have other ways they want to manage the connection between agent and server can more easily actually implement the interface and do that work. So the work, the most of the heavy lifting is done. I've got a couple of failing tests that I need to investigate, and specifically for the when you have multiple agent or multiple servers you're connecting to, when you lose a server, how you handle that loss and reconnect. There's some weird edge cases in there that I'm still trying to get through. And I haven't had time to work on it in the last month, but that is in essence what I've done. The one thing is if you go into files changed, I don't know who, so we just went back to the doc Elmigo.
You want me to go back to the agenda doc?
No, if you go to the PR and you go into the files changed section. I just wanted to quickly show the interface.
Okay, which file should I go down to here?
Well, I'm still looking. The thing I'm seeing right now is the network proxy meeting agenda docs. So
I see files changed.
Okay. Do you know which file? On my screen, I'm looking at the PR.
Oh, okay. Okay. I apologize. I'm right now. It switched me back to looking at your agenda, which is making it hard for me to. Let me see if I can get my PR up, and I apologize. I will.
Joseph, Imran, Bennett, are you guys seeing the agenda or the PR?
Yeah.
I'm seeing the diff.
Weird. Okay.
That is weird.
That is very weird. Okay. Pull this out.
While you're pulling it up, Walter, I can chime in. I remember these details all too well, since I'm the one that extended the agent to sync forever, optionally with a flag. I remember that a server responds to that agent connection with a server ID, which is a UUID, and a server count. And it's the agent that makes the decision, looking at the uniqueness of a given server ID, to drop the connection, not the server. So then, sort of as a result of this, there's been complaints about server log noise. Although there was a recent PR to improve that. There shouldn't be any errors in this normal duplicate server case anymore in the server.
Okay, so if you,
ahead,
if you go into package agent client set.go, and it's possible I should just break this out into its own file, but you should find what is currently pretty simple is the proxy connection manager interface.
Yep, I got it up.
And so right now there are basically two methods: ensure connectivity and set client set. And so ensure connectivity is basically a get initialized or get started method. It basically just says, hey, I need you to go ahead and begin doing connectivity. And then set client set is just having it, and we could break it out into add, remove if we felt that was better, but it's basically responsible for exposing the clients that are available. And so right now, those are the only two methods you really need to, those are the only methods I needed to expose to make the connection manager able to do anything. And then the two implementations of that, which are below it, are the HA Proxy Connection Manager, which is the version of, that's the existing, basically the existing code repackaged. And then you'll see one called List Proxy Connection Manager. And that's the other one I described, where you just give the agent a list of connection or a list of connectivity servers. And possibly I should actually put nice big comment blocks explaining what each of them do. That would make a lot of sense, but it's a work in progress. So I would recommend take a look at that. Any feedback at this point would be appreciated before I go too far down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, Joseph.
So can I ask more about the original motivation for this? I think you already covered that it was sort of for the cases where you already know exactly what set of servers you want each of the agents to connect to. But is there also sort of a mapping to when, like, some clusters are going to have control plane network and cluster or data plane network that are not IP routable to each other? So connectivity proxy is allowing you to tunnel across those two separated networks, which I'm familiar with that use case. And then is this supporting a use case where you do have a flat network, but you're still choosing to run connectivity proxy for other reasons, like security posture reasons? Is that what this is for?
I think that would definitely, it's funny, the routable is an interesting thing, and I think that is definitely involved in this. The interesting thing is this only requires traffic to sort of be connection traffic. So one of the interesting concepts is what direction can you connect in? So this one requires things to be routable from the data plane to the control plane, and you to be able to make a connection in that direction. It doesn't require that their connection in the other direction be possible. So the use case I'm aware of is two separate networks that are routable, but where connections, you cannot make a connection into the data plane, right? So this is basically tunneling out so that when the Kube API server wants to make a connection into the data plane or into the data plane, it doesn't have to make an actual connection through the routable. If you you don't have, if there's like a firewall that would prevent a connection from going into the data plane, it basically lets you bypass that firewall. Did that make sense?
It does, but would you, to maybe spin the question a little, is the feature agnostic to which of the two, and we want to support either one? The cases I laid out, where it is either truly a flat network, but you want to, still around possible firewall rules, or it's a disparate network, but we still have like a set of n specific servers that are somehow routable in the reverse direction, but not the forward direction.
Yeah, I think that's true. And it's also, I mean, one of the interesting things is it might even later be used for more complicated. I mean, this is putting in the option for others. So, I mean, as an example, you could extend what I've already done and put in an actual VPN on top of the list, and so that you could, go through instead of giving a list of IP addresses, you could potentially give it a list, extend this example and give it a list of VPN tunnels to go through.
Yeah, Imran, you got your hand up.
So I have a question. When you said about the upgrade scenario, so in the existing setup where the connection agent goes to the load balancer, the voice got garbled at my end. I wanted to know what happens when you do an upgrade, and is there a flag that helps you connect to the newer instances, the time flag, something like that?
Joseph could probably address this better than I can, but part of the idea here is if you in the old model, when we originally wrote the code before Joseph made his changes, if you removed a connectivity server, the agent would go and attempt to find a new one. Great, works great. If what you wanted to do was add a new one before you removed the old, you had this problem because it had been told there are only 3 connectivity servers to connect to, and it would never go looking for that 4th. And so the 4th one would come up, but none of the agents would try to connect to it because they were all saturated. So the idea was, hey, if you want to be able to find extra connectivity servers that have been added to the load balancer, we can have an agent once a minute try to see if there's a new connectivity server that has been added to the load balancer list. And so that's the basic idea behind how that particular feature that Joseph added works.
This is the sync forever flag, right?
Joseph, do you know I don't actually remember the flags. Do you remember?
I might remember the related flags. The work I did, so previous to the work I did, it's been like a year and a half. The agent already sort of assumed that it would need to handle a rolling restart of servers. So it remembered server count. Let's say that you're in the server count equals 3 case, which is more interesting than 1. You have a rolling restart of the servers. A given agent would suddenly notice that it lost one of its servers, and it went from server count equals 3 to active number of servers is 2. So then it would its sync loop would basically try again until it eventually gets that 3rd distinct server ID, and then it's sort of steady state happy. The work I did a year and a half back was to support, you've got a cluster, let's say you've got a 3 control plane node cluster. It's been that way for steady state, but then you want to dynamically grow it to a 4 control plane node cluster. The agents prior to this change I made couldn't really support that and handle it because it would essentially cache the server count 3 forever. And what I did was essentially I added a flag called sync forever to the agent, and it just basically, instead of blocking its sync loop, it just continues its sync loop. And I made sure that, even though it's doing a bit extra work, it doesn't create any errors in the sort of normal case. Because obviously the normal case is it stays 3 for a very long time, or maybe it jumps up to 4 once in a great while and then stays 4 for a very long time. But it allows you to it allows the operator to avoid having any hassle of going and restarting agents.
Right, good. Thanks.
Yeah. We're at time, but I had a pretty small tactical agenda, if people don't mind me asking it here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think about maybe 2 meetings ago, so a month ago, we briefly discussed holding off on the next release tag for the agent readiness improvement that Imran is working on. I would still like to wait for it because I don't think there's a burning need for a new release tag, and I think it's really close. There was one of the PRs changed Go mod to upgrade to sort of Kubernetes 127 compatible. And it reminded me that we had that consensus a while back to probably future direction switch to one release branch in APIServer network proxy repo per Kubernetes minor version. So I just wanted to know if there's any strong feelings one way or another. If we sort of keep the status quo and the next release can be a 0.1.3, and then we defer to after that, or if we want to, you know, change our branching as our last plan of record, even in the immediate term. Any opinions one way or the other?
I mean, I don't have a strong opinion on this, but having some way to tie it to Kubernetes releases seems useful. But I thought the last time we talked about this, we talked about the notion that it doesn't actually need to be tied to a specific Kubernetes release. Is that, do we need to keep track of which release it was released from?
What I remember was, I think because of part of the path to GA is like version skew test coverage, which we don't have properly today. And our previous branching strategy was branch sort of as needed. In order to, if you need an older release branch in the network proxy repo, to backport to Kubernetes at a still supported but older minor version. And it was a little bit hard for contributors to reason about. And we said, it might just simplify things for contributors and for test skew implementation later to just have one network proxy branch per Kubernetes minor version and just establish the mapping, similar to client Go. That was the plan of record I remember. And I just wondered if there were any objections to proceeding in that direction in the short term. Particularly because one of the open PRs touches Go mod. That's why I mentioned it. And I was considering going and creating a tag soon.
Yeah, I mean, no objection from me. One ask I might have is like, could we make an issue on that repo to kind of surface this and explain like what we're going to do there? And then,
Yeah, you're right.
And then that way, at least we have like some kind of record of how we decided to create the mapping and everything.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I would do that first.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, if you wanna take that on, that'd be awesome, and then we can all just kind of drop our +1s there or any concerns we have. Maybe we can give it a week or two lazy consensus and then figure out like, okay, at the next meeting, if people are cool with it, then yeah, we'll just go ahead with that.
Yeah, okay, makes sense.
Okay. So we're a few minutes over at this point. Is there any kind of last minute topics people wanted to bring up here? I will make a public service announcement that we do have a talk submitted under the SIG cloud provider maintainer track about APIServer network proxy. And thank you, Joseph, for volunteering to be a co-speaker on that. I just want to open it up and say, if anyone else in this working group would like to be a co-speaker on that talk, please reach out to me on Slack or email or whatever. Happy to include more people if anyone would like to get some experience speaking at KubeCon. So that's it for me. So, all right. Thanks for coming out, everybody. And I guess we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Bye, folks.
Thank you.